It's Saturday, and you know what that means. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Stan Hansen Saturday. This is episode number 18. And this week, we are going to look back at a crazy six-man tag match. Not so much the match itself, but the post-match ended up being really wild. That featured Stan Hansen teaming up with his usual tag team partner during this 1982 period, Ole Anderson and Terry Funk, as they take on Ken Timbs, Jose Medina, and the Samoan from Georgia Championship Wrestling's March 13th, 1982 episode. Before we get to the match, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, joins Gordon Solie. He talks about facing the great Kabuki and how Ole Anderson stuck his nose into his business. He says he's the meanest, baddest man in the world. Ole Anderson and Stan Hansen come out and confront Dusty Rhodes. Rhodes heads to the ring, wanting to challenge them to a match. Bob Armstrong then follows, along with Tommy Rich, and Bad Leroy Brown show up to stand on the side of Dusty Rhodes. Ole warns Rhodes that he is not always going to have someone by his side, and when he doesn't, they'll get him. We then go to the match, which is, of course, as I mentioned, Ole Anderson teaming up with Stan Hansen and Terry Funk versus Ken Timbs, Jose Medina, and the Samoan. Stan Hansen starts the match off against Ken Timbs and beats him down. He quickly tags in Terry Funk, who continues the attack on Timbs. A hard chop knocks down Ken Timbs. Terry Funk then slams Timbs and follows that up with a big leg drop. He quickly tags in Ole Anderson. Ole grabs Timbs in a front chantry, but allows Timbs to tag in Medina, which allows Ole Anderson to quickly attack Medina and tag in Stan Hansen back into the match. Stan Hansen with an elbow on Medina. Hansen then tags in Funk. Basically, the Hansen-Funk-Anderson trio kept tagging in and out very quickly against their opponents. Funk pile drives Medina. He then tags in Ole, and Ole uses the ropes to choke Medina. Ole then tosses Medina into his corner, which allows Medina to tag in the Samoan. That's all they call him, the Samoan. I guess Gordon Solie didn't know what his name was, but they just call him the Samoan throughout this match. Funk then punches the Samoan. He gets him in an arm. He then follows that up by getting him in an arm bar. Funk then goes again with another chop at the Samoan and then starts to stomp on him. He then tags in Stan Hansen, who comes in and beats on the Samoan a little more. He tosses him to the outside and beats on him out there. He then brings him back in and he lands a knee across the Samoan's forehead. That is then followed with an elbow drop and a backbreaker on the Samoan. Ole then tags in and comes in and tosses the Samoan around and into their corner, which allows the Samoan to mercifully tag in Ken Timbs. Ole catches Ken Timbs with a big elbow across the chest. He then slams Ken Timbs and then whips him into the corner. Medina is now back in the ring, and Ole tags in Stan Hansen. He tries to tag in Stan Hansen or Terry Funk, but the referee gets in between Hansen and Ole. And as Hansen is trying to get back in the ring, because they're tagging in so quickly in and out that at certain points the referee kind of gets in the way. And obviously the heels are kind of being a little bit rougher in the match. Funk comes in instead and charges at Medina, but instead of knocking Medina down, he knocks down Ole Anderson instead. Medina then covers Ole Anderson for the pin and almost gets the win. That's how close it was. Ole then gets back up and instead just tosses Medina over the top rope for the disqualification. The winners, Ken Timbs, Jose Medina, and the Samoan. Big surprise win. Crowd erupts for this as the heels have lost the match. After the match, Ole Anderson and Stan Hansen start to argue with Terry Funk inside the ring. Ole then slaps Terry Funk. Terry Funk apologizes and offers his hand to Ole, but he gets slapped again by Ole Anderson. Ole then attacks Terry Funk, and the two start to brawl. Stan Hansen then decides to get involved and attacks Terry Funk. The other trio tries to help Terry Funk, but they all get tossed out of the ring. Hansen and Anderson start to drop elbows on Terry Funk. The referees try to break it up, as there's another referee that comes out to try to stop the carnage on Terry Funk. They go to the commercial break as Hansen and Anderson continue to beat on Terry Funk. We come back from the commercial break, and Dusty Rhodes joins Gordon Solie and says he could have warned Terry Funk about teaming with Ole Anderson. Terry Funk then comes out and tells Dusty that he hates his guts, but they have one thing in common, and that they have the fire down below, and asks Dusty to take him as his partner against Stan Hansen and Ole Anderson. He gives Dusty Rhodes his father's Rolex watch as collateral to team with him. Dusty says he'll take the watch because it is his soul. Funk then vows to kick Dusty Rhodes' butt too, after he's done with Hansen and Anderson. Later on in the show, as this is a 2-hour show, the second hour they come back and they have Terry Funk joining Gordon Solie to talk about teaming with Dusty Rhodes against Stan Hansen and Ole Anderson. Funk admits that he's said some bad things about Dusty Rhodes, but says Rhodes is tough and he respects him. He then says Ole and Hansen will get a bit of him even if he has to bite them. Dusty Rhodes later on the show returns and says that he just told Terry Funk if he does anything out of line at the Omni, that all the people are going to jump him. Dusty again repeats that his mystery partner will be in the audience and is not pleased that he won't be wrestling in the match. Dusty had a match with Hansen and Anderson that was already set up, and he was going to have a mystery partner debut against them, but instead they're going to have Terry Funk team with him, and now his mystery partner basically is out of this match, so that's part of the angle. Later on in the show, Ole Anderson, I think this was actually the close of the show. Later on the show, Ole Anderson and Stan Hansen join Gordon Solie. Ole says he's not worried about Terry Funk. He too has a guy from Texas, and he's tougher and bigger than Terry Funk. Ole says they are the best tag team in the world. Hansen says everyone knows Funk and Rhodes don't like each other. Roddy Piper then joins them and puts down Tommy Rich. He says he can wear a dress because he's tough enough to wear a dress. This is basically finishing up with Rich. Piper talking about his rivalry with Rich. And he also has a lot to do with Ole Anderson, since Ole Anderson on Georgia Championship Wrestling constantly brought him up as someone with talent. They actually teamed up and feuded with Dusty Rhodes and all that, so they were very much a unit, and obviously with Stan Hansen now involved. So I thought this was a great little angle on this episode of Georgia Championship Wrestling. Every once in a while you get Georgia Championship Wrestling, and there's mostly a lot of squash matches, and then you get some good interviews in between each of the matches. This one had that 6-man tag was pretty fun for a squash match, but the post-match angle was great with Ole and Stan turning on Terry Funk. Stan and Ole are a rough tag team. Really fun to watch, especially when they're beating up on guys. They're the jobbers or anybody who they have a size advantage over. And in this case, this was really a fun match. Unfortunately, I don't think we get Terry Funk versus Dusty Rhodes. I mean, Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes versus Ole and Stan. That would have been something fun to watch. But I guess, like I said, this is one of those unfortunate things from the pre-2000s, really, because until the 2000s, really, stuff wasn't getting taped. Everything wasn't getting taped. Now almost everything gets taped. And so, it would have been fun to have watched that tag match. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe to the Retro Wrestling YouTube channel. We truly appreciate that. And remember, every Saturday we celebrate by recapping a Stan Hansen match. So long, everyone.